Welcome back. I'm Pat, that Halloween movie collector, and I'm back for another That 70's movie review. Wanted to get this out before the new Exorcist comes out, so I'm going to do my review of The Exorcist from 1973. The amazing movie, directed by William Friedkin, from the novelization by William Peter Blatty, that just took everybody by storm in 73, was touted as the scariest movie ever just because of just the amazing effects and amazing acting, albeit probably in the third act more than anything, because it does have a slow build up, a lot of backstory between of the two priests and Ellen Burstyn's character, and then it builds up, and then of course the third act is just off the wall. Film stars Ellen Burstyn, Max von Sydow, Jason Miller, and our beloved Linda Blair as Reagan, who gets possessed. So it basically starts out with an archaeological dig in northern Iraq with Father Marin, played by Max von Sydow, who finds a little statue of Pazuzu, who is a Syrian demon. And as he's leaving, because he's done with his dig and he's going back to Georgetown, where his parish is, and at the Georgetown University, and when he's leaving, he does see another statue of Pazuzu with these two dogs, which is sort of foreshadows everything that is to come. And then we flash to Father Karras, who is another priest at Georgetown, and he is he's having like sort of like a testing of his faith. He's caring for his ailing mother, who's just getting older, starting to maybe a little bit of dementia. So that whole backstory is playing out with him. We're introduced to Chris McNeil, Ellen Burstyn, who's the mother of Reagan, played by Linda Blair, and she's an actress, and they show her on a shooting set, and I guess she's famous actress, well-to-do, and she lives nearby, and she has a little daughter. So everything seems to be okay. They have a very good relationship. She also has some housekeepers that are always helping her out. So what starts to happen in the house? Ellen Burstyn starts to hear some noise, Chris McNeil. She hears noises in the attic, and we do find out later that apparently Reagan was messing around with a Ouija board. Never mess around with those damn things. I still don't trust them. She messed around, and I guess a spirit came through called Captain Howdy. So they're attributing like some of the spirit or some of the disturbances to her messing around with a Ouija board. Now, there's a lot of stuff going on in this movie, but long story short, as time progresses, more things start to happen with Reagan. She gets very violent. Her mother throws a little a party, so I think it was like a rap party for the film, and she comes down and just urinates. She just pees all over the carpet while everybody's still there. So a lot of strange things start to happen to her. She takes her to the doctor, and they're running tests, and they're thinking there's something in her brain, like a lesion, and they actually go so far as to do like try to remove the lesion. There's so much going on, and then finally, when they start realizing what's going on, they suggest to her about maybe bringing in somebody, because maybe there's something going on as far as some type of possession or something supernatural or spiritual going on. And that's when they suggest Father Karras, because he's highly regarded as a counselor. Well, he's a counselor, but he's got a very good reputation as a counselor. And he's having his light leap of faith, his crisis of faith, rather. And he's also just blames him. He's feeling a lot of guilt for the death of his mother, how he wasn't there, because eventually they took her from her home because she wasn't taking care of herself, put her in a home, and then she died alone there, not with him by her side. So he's having a real tough time with that. But she goes, meets with him, eventually convinces him to come, and he sees what's going, eventually sees it, and does, petition the church for an exorcism, and of course, you have to provide proof. You can't just say, you know what, I just want to do an exorcism. No, it doesn't work that way in the Catholic Church. You have to provide proof. And he's never done it before, so they're a little leery about him doing it on his own, and suggest Father Marin to come help him, because he is much more versed in this, has done it before, and he's also got to be proven as well. So, of course, Father Karras does a recording of her where she's speaking in what he thinks is a different language. It's not Latin, and apparently it's just, I believe, if I remember correctly, her speaking in reverse, and just, I mean, it was more proof than you possibly need. You just have to say, look, just come with me and see this. But the Catholic Church is very leery, and this is also a different time and place. So long story short, they do come. They start it, and this is when it starts to ramp up. The third act is just balls to the wall with this film. Actually, I'll tell you a little story. When my daughter loves watching horror movies, her and her friends, we sit up in the a warmer weather here, northeastern Pennsylvania. I put a screen in the backyard, and they like to watch horror movies out there, and they'll camp out. I'm like, oh, Dad, they know I'm a big horror guy. What's a good movie to watch? I'm like, well, have you guys ever seen The Exorcist? Put it on for them. And albeit this whole generation is very desensitized to horror, and they liked it. They said, but basically just the third act. Everything the build up to it was kind of, they said it was kind of boring. The archaeological thing and the priest, the crisis of faith and all that. But the third act goes balls to the wall, and that's the part that they like the most. And this is the only movie my wife will not watch at night. If I try to put it on, nope. It's got to be during the day because it still scares her from when she was a kid. But side note. So now they start the exorcism, and of course, Pazuzu's going to fight back. And they take breaks here and there. They're she spitting like that green goo. She does a whole thing where her head spins around. I mean, it's just crazy off the wall shit. And the demon's doing everything to get on their side, like speaking in the voice of Father Karras' dead mother, which is really driving him crazy to the point where Father Marin says, you know what, you need to leave, get out, because that's what the devil is there to do, to trick you, to test your faith. So he finally eventually gets out, and of course, Max von Sydow, Father Marin's in there working, and then it gets quiet, and he goes in there, and you see Max von Sydow laying there, he's dead. And of course, he just flips shit and starts shaking and saying, come into me. What, for Christ's sake, just come into me. And it leaves Reagan's body and comes into him. And as it's starting to take him over, you can see his face. He jumps out the window and kills himself so it can't manifest inside him. And of course, there's a lot of plot points along the way I know I'm missing. Like Reagan is sort of blamed, or probably did do it. You don't really see it, blamed for killing Chris's boyfriend because they think because of going out the window, and so they're blaming her for that because of what's going on with her. There's a lot of other scenes where you do see a scene where Reagan is sort of standing up, and you see the image of Pazuzu. There's a lot of stuff that you just can't go everything through when you're trying to do a review of a movie, unfortunately. And there's so much in this film. And I'm assuming if you're watching, if you've seen it, if you haven't seen The Exorcist, what rock are you hiding under? Go watch The Exorcist, especially before the new one comes out. And I know the new one's it's not getting the best of reception, even though it's not out yet. And there's 2 trailers so far. So I'm going to go in with an open mind and let's see where it goes. Because part 2, The Heretic, was crap. But part 3 with George C. Scott, that was actually good. One of the best jump scares in horror. So go check out The Exorcist 3. So this movie, it got accolades. It actually, very rare to see, especially back then, any horror movie get even mentioned at the Academy Awards. The Academy, I believe it was the first horror movie ever nominated for Best Picture. I know the score, the screenplay. Ellen Burstyn was nominated for Best Actress. And so it won for Best Screenplay, Adapted Screenplay, and Best Sound. It was nominated for Picture of the Year, and it was also nominated, like I said, Ellen Burstyn was nominated for Best Actress, but did not win. So that's just off-the-wall crazy stuff that you would actually see that, especially back then in 73. You had some horror movies much later where people would be actually recognized, because horror usually gets the shaft when it comes to the Academy Awards. But this movie just... It's a great classic film, and if you've never seen it, please go check it out. It's just amazing. So this, albeit you all know that Halloween is my favorite movie of all time, and that's the only one so far I've given a 5 to. I do smiley faces here. I give 1 through 5 smiley faces, so that's the only one I gave a solid 5 to so far. Some have been 4.5, and this one I'd have to say the original Exorcist is a 4.5. 4.5 smiley faces, because this movie is just insane. Admittedly, there was a lot of hype about it. People coming out of the theater throwing up and having nightmares. this movie didn't scare me as much as Halloween did. You know, I guess maybe because I saw this the first time probably right after Halloween. I saw Halloween in 1980, so maybe a few years after that. I saw it when I started going to when we got a VCR in the early 80s, and I started going to the video store and renting horror movies because I just would go and rent whatever horror movie I can get my hands on. And it was great. I liked it. I don't think I was ever scared by it, but I just loved it. Loved the story. Loved the effects. Some great, amazing practical effects. And it's just a classic. I think it's even been. I think it might even be in was it the Library of Congress where they make it culturally significant. It probably is in that because Halloween's in there, so I'm sure The Exorcist is. So that is my review of The Exorcist. What do you think of The Exorcist? What would you give it 1 through 5? Do you like The Exorcist? Do you not like The Exorcist? Like I said, talk to my daughter, a couple other people. They really just like the third act. The rest of it, they don't care much for the buildup of the story, all the backstory going on between the two priests, and Ellen Burstyn, Chris McNeil's character. They just like the fun stuff at the end, which admittedly is the best part of the film. But let me know your thoughts on The Exorcist. Comment down below. If you do me a favor, hit that like button. It helps people find this channel. If you like other reviews of horror movies, I'm still stuck in the 70s. I've been reviewing 70s movies. I'm going to I'll probably, when this premieres, I'll be at H45 out in California, Pasadena, the Halloween H45 convention. So I probably won't have another review out till after that. So do me a favor, look around, and there's plenty of other horror shit on here and music and all sorts of stuff. So subscribe to the channel if you can. Helps a brother out. Don't cost nothing. And look around all the shit on the channel. Maybe you'll step in some shit you like. And until next, that 70s review, which the 80s review is coming probably after I get back, I'll talk to you soon.